Hey everyone, James with tfbtv. It's my honor and privilege to be here at Rifle Dynamics with its CEO, Mark Flinn. Mark, thank you so much for being on the program. No one better than I can think of right now who's still alive to do a top 5 AK video. So we are looking at your 5 most favorite AKs here at Rifle Dynamics. Before we get into that, tell everyone out there, for the few people who might not know who you are, what Rifle Dynamics is. Give us the backstory.
I'm Mark Flinn. I was involved from day one with Rifle Dynamics when we first started it up. And matter of fact, that gun happened to be one of the first 3 we built. But the whole point of that is that Rifle Dynamics got off on a pretty good foot. And this room was actually the first unit that the company was involved in. We grew for quite a while. Jim and I worked together on it quite a bit, and I was involved on the financial side and did a lot of funding. So the whole point of that was to get the thing off the ground and get it moving. There was quite a few years going by when one of the biggest things that we did early on was our build classes, which you went through a short version of that, but the build classes are really a great way to meet people and like-minded individuals that have the interest in AKs. I wasn't really interested in AKs when I first started. We actually, to start off, I bought 36 kits, Romanian kits, that still had straws in the barrels, and they were chopped up, brand new guns, and brought in, and that's how it started. And Jim and Lenny and I built quite a few of those starting off, and that's what really piqued our interest in the whole business. It was a different thing. I was an AR M16 guy since '70, and AKs weren't my forte. But once we put one together that was a really nice, smooth gun, I've been excited ever since.
And depending on whose definition you look at, Rifle Dynamics has been in business for 15 to 20 years.
Sure, more like 16, 17, somewhere in there for sure. And the whole point of that is that the growth in the company didn't really happen until in the early 2015s, somewhere in that area where we actually started expanding. I was involved next door. I had my office next door. I was just training and doing a lot of other things, but I was also running the build classes and doing stuff because they needed help here to run the financial side of it. And the whole point is that we took off from there. The build classes, we started traveling, doing build classes on the road, that kind of thing, which really got us a good name out there. And people really enjoyed it until the ATF decided that we shouldn't be doing that.
Right, sure. So, always the fun killers.
So yeah, they pulled the plug on that deal, and basically it's one of those things where it was not a big deal for people to have the destination of Vegas to come in for our build classes.
Yeah, sure.
And buying our guns.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, one of the biggest things that we found was that if you finely tuned a gun, no matter what it was, somebody has interest in that, instead of having just a slap together
of course,
typical firearm. Because there's the right way and the wrong way to build these guns. It's a whole different thing than the ARs, and mil-spec parts and the rest of it, because it's more about beating it with a hammer and making it fit, which is a little excessive. But But obviously,
but I mean, not that far off from what I've seen. Every AK I've seen get built, and I think that's a great segue into your number 5. What do we have here?
Actually, the numbers are bugging me.
Nobody ever likes numbers. Nobody likes, you put somebody on the spot. This is the most hated TFB TV segment of all time, but you're committed. That's number 5. What is it?
The reason why this one, I guess, is my number 5 gun is because it was one of the first 3 that we built. And I was pretty impressed with an AK at that point. I've been an AR guy and exclusively in all the firearms training and all the classes I've been in for years. And when I started shooting the AK, this one really made a difference.
What is it?
Actually, it's pretty rough compared to our standards nowadays, because a lot of fitting and things that we do now, we didn't do at this time. But the gun is smooth, it shoots straight, and it's a joy to shoot. And the whole point of this is I kept it because it was one of the first three. Lenny Bolton, Jim Fuller, and I actually put these together, and I kept this one over the years because of what it meant to me for that reason, especially since I got more heavily involved in Rifle Dynamics in future years.
So this is one of the first. Was this built on one of those Romanian kits that you were talking about? Okay, so
virtually a brand new gun.
Right.
I mean, you can't get parts like this anymore. So
did you have a name for this? Did this have a model number, or was it just a Rifle Dynamics AK?
It wasn't a Rifle Dynamics AK until we actually started the business. They were built right at the start.
Is it safe to say that, while this is obviously a perfectly functional weapon, this is more of a sentimental pick for you?
Big time.
Okay.
And I don't shoot it anymore just because of that. And I use it in our build classes for displays and the rest of it, and to show where we came from. It's just an original gun, and it's kind of cool. A lot of the students like to play with it and say, hey, it is different now. As we go down the line, you'll see how much different it is than where we started.
Sure. So. And let's continue down the line. This is actually an interesting little piece of history as well. Not really related to Rifle Dynamics per se, but we have.
Yeah, so this is an AKS-74U, and it's a Tula. It's a Russian gun. Pretty tough to get these nowadays.
Right.
I would imagine the value just in the parts and the rest of it is sky high. And I almost didn't buy the kit when we bought it because it was like $250. You know, now I don't think you can get a kit for less than, I don't know what, $4,000.
Oh,
or
I have
something
no
if
clue
you
even.
Find one.
Yeah, if you can find one, sure.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the deal. This gun is actually, we converted it to a machine gun, and I carried it for a long time.
Why not? I would too.
I always carried an AR, and this was the first gun that I actually said, okay, I'm going to carry an AK because I'm involved in helping build them and do all the rest of it. We'd already converted it so it was a machine gun, but I was carrying it anyway. It's got a lot of rounds through it, but I finally retired it because I wanted to have a real Russian Tula on the wall for everybody else to enjoy without beating it up.
What's it like shooting it? I mean, it's 5.45, 39, very light recoiling. I mean, how is it to shoot?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so soft. You're going to love it because I'll probably take it to the range with us.
So. Oh, absolutely. I have never shot a actual AK-74U.
And that's one of my things, because I was an AR guy with 5.56. I've always been a small caliber guy, and I figured I look at these guns like they're 300-yard guns. I'm not really looking at something that it's a close and personal gun as far as I'm concerned. If I needed to shoot farther than that, I'm going to get a lot bigger gun. So anyway, this has got that value, and I always appreciated the 5.45 because of the small caliber.
Right, sure, easy to shoot.
Anyway,
and now we've got something pretty much the other end of the spectrum, modernized, full size.
The interesting part of this is that this looks a lot different than how it was born.
You don't say.
Yeah, this was one of probably a half a dozen original production rifles for Rifle Dynamics. This happened to be the first rail that we had as a prototype with a long hatch. I took that original gun. It was a 5.45. It was 501 was our model. Side folder with the rest of it, all that. And so last year, I took it to a new level. I kind of modernized it. I carried this gun for years. I shot it in all the training classes and everything that I've been doing for the last 15 years. And it's an excellent shooter. I've made it look a lot different than it was before. So this is really my pride and joy, and this is my go-to gun. So, and it's just got barely enough on it. I hate hanging things. I'm an old school guy. I don't like to put weight on a gun that I don't need. But for daily carry, a light and a red dot is plenty for me.
And let's be honest with ourselves. The original AK-47, the AKM, kind of a dated platform, right? You've got crappy iron sights, not very good modularity, no real ability to mount optics, or at least any good options for mounting.
From a standard point of handguard point of view, yeah, mounting optics is kind of a bitch. The only thing we had was side rails.
And that was suboptimal.
Yeah, I mean, they're optimal for a powered optic, but not really ideal for our new red dot systems and the rest of it. That's why when we went to the production models, we had at least, in fact, this gun has an Ultimac on it to give you a little short rail to put an optic on, a red dot, and a flashlight or something.
Right.
But these new rails basically give you plenty of room to do all kinds of things. Everybody's got different passions, night vision, all the other things that they need to do to mount to their guns. This gives you that opportunity.
But this is just as modular as anything else that you could find in the AR world or what have you.
Absolutely, and these are actually a little bit easier to build because there's not so much barrel work and the other stuff to do with it. My first choice, carry gun at this point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it is a modern AK. When did you make this one?
The gun was actually built in probably early, like 07, 08, somewhere in there.
So it was really ahead of the curve then, like 15 years ago.
Well, yeah, the gun itself was built, but then we modernized it in the last year. So,
I see.
So it's just been 6-8 months that I've been running this configuration. It just looks different now.
Right.
You know?
Perhaps my favorite gun that's in this shop. I absolutely love this. What do we have next, Mark?
You know, the best part about this gun is everybody loves it.
I mean, it's easy to love.
This was actually our first prototype hatch. It's 5.45 too, and it was a short hatch that we built as a pistol to start with, and it was a good seller. There's no question. Really small, convenient, small caliber, excellent gun. This rail gives you a little bit more space to be able to hang things. It's pretty tough, but you can get enough night vision gear on there, a laser, and a few other things. And that was kind of the bare minimum standard that Eric, our marketing guy, set for that. And it worked out perfectly. So this basically it's short barreled. It's only 9-inch, and it's handy. It was built as a pistol. This one happens to be an SBR because it's got a full stock on it. And basically it's got all of the modern conveniences on it without any of the downside.
Right.
The actions are good. It's an excellent shooter, and the ballistics are still good even with a short barrel.
Sure, and you have used the term hatch for those out there. You're referring to long hatch, short hatch. What does that mean?
Well, the quick hatch was a little brainchild of Eric, our marketing manager, and basically it means Wolverine. This is the original hatch, this length, and we've got a mid-length and we've got a full length now. And the full lengths are out now, the mid-length's coming, and we're calling them the quick hatch, basically. It's short, medium, and long. It's just to make it simple on what it is, and that's just barrel length is all it is.
Sure.
So,
tell me about this one, the configuration, caliber, if I can get one if I want it.
sure, we could build you one. But well, this one's 5.45, and yes, we have kits available to build them at 5.45. The hatch is really nice. Even in a 7.62 caliber, it's still very controllable because of our adjustable gas blocks. So it's good in any caliber, but in fact, yeah, you can order this gun right now in 3 different calibers. Clint Smith with Thunder Ranch, basically, and I've painted our guns identical. So he's got one at his place too. So
That's romantic.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Hey.
And now for romance. Let's get to the number one.
Yeah.
Which gun do you love?
This gun, I guess. We don't shoot this gun a lot. This is the Type 1, and 7.62-39. It was one of the original ones. And
one of the original, this is like the original AK-47.
And if you look at rivet patterns and the rest of it, notice it doesn't have the same pattern.
No, not even close.
Well, it was a Type 1, and the reason why they didn't continue it is because the rivet patterns and the rest of it, the engineering didn't work. The receivers started stretching on them once they started shooting. The military started using them. The gun would blow up. I mean, they had to do something different. So they immediately went back to milling the receiver, and until they had the technology to be able to actually do a soft receiver like this. So,
right.
So anyway, that's the whole point of this. They came normally as underfolders, which made them very compact, but the fixed stock versions were pretty rare, which makes this one
super
really
rare,
rare, especially here.
Sure.
the whole point of that being is it's my favorite gun because of what it stands for.
Yeah.
You know, it's really about the first medium cartridge, other than the STG, medium cartridge assault weapon, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Select fire gun. And since we're in the industry of AKs, we had to have the
Oh,
first
you
one.
have to. Yeah, of course. I mean, I totally understand
So-
the pick. I mean, let's be honest. In the grand scheme of things, especially when you compare it to what you guys build here at Rifle Dynamics, kind of a shit gun. I mean, it runs, but you know, like you had the AKM shortly after, the modernized version that where they fixed some of the flaws of the original Type 1, but you see it for what it is. This is the grandfather of all AKs and the start of everything.
Well, eventually, after they did get the technology for stamped receivers, basically they produced the AKM, which is what most AKs are. This was just the leader, and it was the first one.
And I have to ask, just because I know everyone's thinking it at home, it's a completely tacky question, and especially if you're from the South, like I am. How much would one of those cost if I could find one today? Do you know?
Boy, that's hard to say.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a relic.
A lot.
A lot of, yes. We'll just say.
Let's say the kit's probably worth $8 grand or 10, just the kit.
Sure. No, and I completely believe that. You could have told me 30. You could have told me 50. I would have no idea, just because that's such a great #1 pick.
Sure.
It's a rarity. It's the original. Speaking of that, Rifle Dynamics, where do you see RD 10 years from now?
Boy, I'm going to be pretty old by then. Aren't I?
By then.
I'm getting there now. Actually, we're on the move right now. This hatch program and modernizing the base AK is something that our people here have been wanting to do all along. And Eric's been a big driver of that, our marketing guy. I see us continuing to modernize the weapon system and still using the base, you know, the base part of the AK. It's one of those things where even though the most standard AKs are so overgassed, they run no matter what. And the whole point of that is that we've taken to the point where we can actually adjust the gas and set the guns up so that they run really, they're mild, they handle well, they're smooth, they function nice, and it's a joy to shoot. You'll see tomorrow, because I'm going to have you shoot some of our guns that are typical of what goes out there. We're going to continue to evolve as we can. And we're always looking for new things. We might be looking for a new trigger that we might have designed 3 or 4 years ago. We just haven't released.
Right,
Things like that. We've got stuff up our sleeves. We just haven't had time to do.
I know
it.
you do.
So,
I mean, it's one of those things where you guys, you've expanded, but you still run a pretty small boutique shop.
Sure, absolutely.
So sometimes you run out of time.
Yeah, and we are expensive guns. There's no question about that. But the reason why they are is because we spend the time to make sure that each gun, you know, is what it was meant to be. And I don't want a gun to go out of here. I still shoot every gun that we build, and I shoot them more than once. I zero them before they finally go out, and that's kind of my quality check. I get to see what's going on with the guns.
You shoot every single gun that leaves this facility by hand.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where that's my final check before it goes out the door to you, because I want to make sure that I would carry that gun before you get it. I don't want you to end up with something that I wouldn't use myself.
If it runs, it's a good AK.
Yep.
Mark, thank you very much.
Shane.
Truly,
You bet.
it's been an honor to be here. It's been an honor having you on the program, and it's an honor to have you all watching TFB TV.
Appreciate you.
Stay tuned. We're bringing you more from Rifle Dynamics.